Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
A man shot and killed, and the whole incident caught on camera.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, a 21-year-old man was shot and killed during a drive-by shooting on Dunmore Street last evening. A nearby surveillance camera captured the moment two gunmen stuck their hands out of a moving vehicle and opened fire on the victim and two others who were standing outside a neighborhood store. Jared Hicks reports.
Now, according to police, it was shortly before 8 o'clock on Wednesday night when the occupants of a silver Honda Fit pulled up in front of this shop on Dunmore Street off Blue Hill Road. Now, there were three people in front of the shop, two men and a woman. The men pulled out two firearms, started shooting at them, hitting one of the men, sending him to hospital where he later died. Now, the whole incident was captured on a nearby security camera. This viral video shows the silver Honda Fit pulling up in front of three people, sending them scattering as two arms emerge from the vehicle firing gunshots. One of the shooters can be seen wearing yellow gloves and firing an assault rifle type weapon. The other shooter appears to be firing a handgun from the backseat of the car. Family members identified the man who was shot and killed as 21-year-old Bradley Smith Jr. His father, Bradley Smith Sr., was too overcome with grief to speak to Our News on camera. However, he says his son was mannerly and wasn't involved in gang activity. He added that he couldn't take seeing his son's body in the morgue, knowing he wasn't going home with him.
We're losing too much of our young men. We have to teach our young people conflict resolution.
Smith's neighbor, 45-year-old Dave Beckford, expressed anxiety over the killing, saying he often sends his 12-year-old son to the shop where the shooting took place.
Right after that incident, I actually sat down and almost cried because I'm like, wow, it could have been my son going for a soda. I mean, it's like you can't even send your son to the shop to buy a soda, and you got to worry about a daylight drive-by shooting, Sometimes I would even walk across to my neighbor and we would just talk, just like how the young lady who came to the shop, who probably just came to purchase something. Sometimes we go over and we just talk.
The concerned neighbor says the situation could have been worse.
As you can see, two other persons could have also lost their life. So we thank God that they were not hurt. And again, we say to our young people, and I think there has to be some stiffer penalties for persons carrying guns illegally. We have to do something, because at the end of the day, lives are going to continue to be lost, and particularly our young men, they are resorting to guns and killing.
According to Our News records, Smith's killing is the 38th homicide for 2019. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
The Bahamas Union of Teachers held its executive elections today, and Belinda Wilson was heavily favored to be elected president for the 5th consecutive term. Jillian Gray has more.
As teachers headed to the polls, Wilson seemed sure of another election victory, telling our news team her work over the years speaks for itself.
The words coming to me is be still, because I realize that election day, it's the work that you do while you're in the seat, and election day is when people say to you, thank you.
Wilson was first elected to the position in 2008. 38 candidates vied for 13 of the 15 executive positions up for grabs. The area vice president positions for New Providence and the Southern Bahamas were unopposed. Wilson said she still has a passion and vision for the teachers' union, adding that when her work is done, she will happily move off the scene. Wilson's long tenure was not void of conflict. She was suspended a number of times, but said those setbacks did not discourage her.
I believe that I've actually made the Guinness Book of World Records for the president who's been suspended the most. I believe I've made the Guinness Book of World Records. But since even the last suspension, I would have had an election, and the teachers voted overwhelmingly for me. I would have defeated my opponent by 606 votes 2 years ago. So I expect today to have the same support.
Across the country, the union has about 3,800 members, and Wilson said her goal is to advocate for better benefits for each of them. Negotiations for a new industrial agreement began on May 14th. The union is proposing a 20% salary increase for teachers.
Thus far, it's going well, but in the agreement, we're looking at not only a 20% salary increase, but we're looking at how we can revise the salary scales for teachers, because if you note, there are a large number of our members who have been at the maximum of their salary scale now, some 7 years, 10 years. So we've done new salary scales and we're proposing them for the public service to look at them favorably.
Wilson added that during this upcoming year, the executive team will focus on building a new headquarters in New Providence and strengthening the health and safety policy for teachers. Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, 2 weeks after hotel workers voted overwhelmingly to take strike action, the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union received its strike certificates today. Union executives made yet another plea for the Bahamas Hotel Employers Association to come to the negotiating table and warned that if that doesn't happen, the union knows what to do.
We just got the certificate today.
The two sides have been at odds over the past few months over the failure to negotiate numerous issues, including gratuity and a registered industrial agreement, which Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union President Darren Woods said is top priority. He's now proposed several dates, July 9th, 11th, and 12th, for the two sides to meet and is awaiting a response from the Hotel Employers Association. If that doesn't happen, Woods said they know what they have to do.
And we knew we followed the law to its T. So we have separate strike votes for each one of the issues that they say don't exist. Well, the government saw different. Each one is a strike vote. I want you to see, Mr. Walking, how much it is.
Last week, Hotel Employers Association President Russell Miller said gratuity was a non-issue and that the union used it to rile up fears from its members. But Woods brought the proposal to the press conference with him, where he said the proposed gratuity structure was outlined.
Fine dining, no percentage. Casual dining, no percentage. Concessions, no percentage. Buffet, no percentage. And beverage and lounge, no percentage.
The Hotel Employers Association president also accused the union of dragging its feet in submitting a new industrial agreement after the previous agreement expired in 2013. However, the union president today pulled out proof that for years the union has been trying to negotiate a new agreement.
For us, the union is prepared, and we would show, the evidence is here to show, that at all material time, we were ready, willing, and able to negotiate. But we have been prohibited at every stop. So the union had no choice in this matter than to protect the rights of its members. And we will do it again if we have to.
Now, Woods did admit there was some confusion with a previous meeting date. It's something he says the union will accept fault for. However, he said the union isn't trying to be difficult, and all of the issues can be resolved during negotiations.
We have to identify who are going to be the persons negotiating. We have pretty much agreed in principle where we're going to negotiate, the times, the date. But what we have done as a union, we have already started to put our people in groups of committees.
Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands could be facing a lawsuit over the marijuana issue. Attorney Wayne Monroe QC is representing members of the Rastafarian Church who are defending their use of marijuana as a religious sacrament. Jasmine Brown reports.
Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands revealed the possible legal issues as he gave his contribution to the 2019-2020 budget debate. Sands devoted a portion of his budget debate contribution to dealing with the controversial marijuana issue. He told parliamentarians that he was served that legal notice this week.
But just this week, I was served with a notice of a group intending to sue me as minister to force the liberalization of the existing legislation to allow for recreational use of marijuana. Now, I support this approach. I support all legal, civil, and other methods that advocate for change.
Attorney Wayne Monroe QC confirmed the letter was sent from his law firm requesting that marijuana be decriminalized for use as a sacrament in the Rastafarian Church. The letter gave the minister 2 weeks to respond or they will commence legal action. Monroe says they hope it doesn't have to come to that, as they are willing to sit down and discuss the issue with government officials. Sands says the letter came at a time when the Bahamas National Commission on Marijuana is still in the midst of carrying out its work.
In the meantime, the Marijuana Commission has asked for a 3-month extension. During this time, they'll establish a website. They will create a social media platform. They will conduct a comprehensive and widespread national survey, and they will meet with stakeholders.
Cabinet approved the formation of the committee last July following recommendations by the Regional Commission on Marijuana, which has recommended the declassification of marijuana as a dangerous drug in all legislation and the reclassification of the drug as a controlled substance, similarly to tobacco and alcohol. Sands says the commission must be allowed to continue its work. In the meantime, he said the laws of the Bahamas as they currently exist will and must be followed.
It is possible that the Commission may recommend changes in the classification of plants from this family, and it is possible that we may adjust the legal framework. But until the Cabinet of the Bahamas has considered the recommendations and opinions of the public and considered the advice of the Commission, we continue with the laws as they exist.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Gun-related deaths continue to be the leading cause of death for Bahamian males, according to Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands, who also provided updated statistics on leading causes of death in the Bahamas. In addition to gun-related deaths, Sands says the infant mortality rate is still a major concern.
Our infant mortality rates hovered between 18 and 23 per 1,000 live births over the last 4 years, among the highest rates in the non-Latin Caribbean. In 2016, however, when we had the latest data, it is now down to 16 deaths per 1,000 live births.
Sands also raised the alarm on obesity in the country, which he says is extremely high and getting worse.
We should all be concerned is about overweight and obesity, which is extremely high in the Bahamas and worsening. The percentage of the population who was overweight reached 79.2% in 2012, up from 70% in 2005, with no statistically significant difference by sex. We expect new data next month when we get the results of our STEP survey, but I have no great optimism that this will improve.
Still to come, the Prime Minister promises term limits and fixed election dates once again. Plus, the West Bay Street Rehabilitation Project hits a bump in the road. Stay tuned.